Welcome to another edition of The Fan Perspective. I am your host, Nathan Lyle, and this is the first of a new segment called NBA Weekly. And for now, we're going to start by looking back at the 2012 season, some big storylines from there, and I'm just going to recap the teams that made the playoffs. And the number one in the Western Conference was the San Antonio Spurs. And Greg Popovich once again proved why he's one of the greatest coaches ever. Monitoring the minutes of his veterans while getting great production from all of the young players. They picked up some key playmakers along the way with Steven Jackson and Boris Diaw. And for the 13th straight year, the Spurs won more than 50 games. And they were the only team that season with 3 separate 10-game winning streaks. And in the last month of the season, they overtook the Thunder in order to win the Western Conference. The Thunder, meanwhile, dominated all year long except for a few stretches where they definitely showed their youth, but they continued to make a strong case all season long for the championship run. Throughout the season, Durant was making his MVP case while Harden was making a case for Sixth Man of the Year. Then they finished second in the West. And then third was the Lakers, which not really too much of a surprise. Kobe was still Kobe. But the reason they finished third is that even when Kobe was injured, Andrew Bynum seemed to turn into Bill Russell. And the Lakers continued to put together win streaks and stayed at the top of the league for most of the season. And then you have the Memphis Grizzlies, who showed that last year was no fluke. Now, they played better than before, despite the fact that Zach Randolph missed a good chunk of time with an injury. And in fifth place was the Clippers, which was a little surprising. But, Lob City brought the house down. Their season started with Chris Paul being traded over there. And you team him up with Blake Griffin, of course. That's highlight reels waiting to happen. It seemed like every week they had like 5 of the top 10 plays. And for a good portion of the season, they were a top 3 team. An injury to Chauncey Billups definitely slowed them down. It had an effect on their season. They played worse without him, but But they still got into the playoffs, and I hear Blake Griffin's considering a career in football now. He's proven he can take a tackle. And then we have the Nuggets. Okay, how did the Nuggets make this list? Seriously, I didn't even know they were in the playoffs. How did that happen? Anyways, we also have Utah, who started off the season very slow, but they finished strong and fought their way into the playoff spot during the last month of the season. They've got a lot of great athletic big men, a very talented young roster, who's still got so many more years to go. And of course, last and, in my opinion, definitely least, you have the Mavericks, the defending champions, who they had an extremely disappointing season. They played well enough to get into the playoffs, but many people didn't really consider them to be in the championship hunt. The biggest disappointment had to be the former Sixth Man of the Year, Lamar Odom, who at one point in the season got demoted to the D-League. What? So, yeah, tune in next Monday. I'll look back at the Eastern Conference. And after that, we're going to do an episode about the playoffs, followed by an episode about some of the storylines from preseason, big trades and other things that happened. And then starting in November, we will be back up to speed, and I will be doing regular weekly shows about the stuff that is currently going on in the NBA. I'm Nathan. This has been the Fans Perspective. I'm Nathan Lyle. Tell me, did you enjoy this week NBA Weekly?